to be on the dance floor of the Hacienda felt like life, and the people who were in front of me enjoying what we were doing, they felt really alive in a really intense way, and also very connected, and it was almost like a collective thing. I'm very utopian when I talk about clubs. I saw how brilliant they are at bringing people together and giving people a sense of something really important.
In my case, I had two members of staff, my anaesthetist and the midwife, arguing over whether or not I was going to get pain relief, and this was after a C-section and quite a serious hemorrhage, so I most definitely needed a lot of morphine. And the medical staff were rowing at the bottom of my bed, over whether or not I was going to be kept pain-free. And that's a serious miscarriage of care. I mean, that's something that really shouldn't happen, and that happened repeatedly. I was told by women that they were handed a couple of paracetamol a few hours after a C-section, which is just completely inadequate, and cruel, very, very cruel.
Sit in your office and think about, well, if this happened to me, I'm capable of doing this in response and everything would be fine. Well, that's all fantasy until it actually occurs, right? Until you've actually been tested and applied those things and see how you respond, you don't actually know. It's very easy to believe that when it hasn't been tested. And so, this kind of goes back to character too, is that, are you someone who kind of collects skills and experiences as a way to impress other people or to kind of create a persona for other people's consumption? Or are you doing it to actually become the person you want to be, you believe you can be, who in these situations, in these challenging times, can actually put those things into practice?
And I think as I look back, I was really justifying a lot of things and compartmentalizing it, because if I actually said, well, why are the allergy shots in the refrigerator? Shouldn't those be at the doctor's office? And why are there so many? Then I risk, Alberto getting mad at me. Maybe he won't coach me anymore. Maybe, some sort of strife, and then I lose everything that I'm working for. I mean, this is like my whole life. My whole life's dreams is to go to the Olympics. So I can't question it. I'm just going to accept what he tells me. Questioning stuff doesn't help me. It only hurts me. And yeah, again, that's stuff that I look back at now with a lot of therapy and a lot of time, and I realize how unhealthy that was. But that's how I was getting through it, and that's how I was wired at the time.
That was something that really fascinated me, was if you're a knockout artist and that's how you live by that sword, then what happens when you get knocked out? And it's a problem. It's a real problem. And Wilder has always really fascinated me. And what has happened to him in recent times has been particularly interesting, because if you're the guy who hands out knockouts to anyone who fancies one, and you've knocked out literally everybody that you've boxed, then what happens when that cloak of invincibility is ripped away from you and you get knocked out?
They opened the rear door, and I saw them coming with the guns. They had fired into the air. I thought at that moment I was dead, but when I wasn't, I made sure that I held the door shut. And since it was my arm that was doing it, they beat on my arm with their Kalashnikovs. They broke my wrist, not in half, but they broke my wrist, and then they pulled me out. Then they beat on my scalp and bloodied my scalp. My glasses, which I was wearing, were broken in the dust, and I never saw them again. So I spent the next 2.5 years blind, basically. And then they bundled me into an SUV that was waiting off to the side of the road, and that was the getaway car. So they drove away with me about 3 hours into the Somali bush.